ready for a bedtime story. This one is one of my most favourite adventures. Once upon a time, there lived a lovely husband and his lovely wife in a small cottage by the most beautiful garden. The garden was full of magical herbs and flowers, the most magical one being the Rapunzel. But the garden had been stolen some time ago by an evil witch who let no one else go there. One night, the poor wife, she grew terribly ill. The husband, he panicked and he decided he must be brave. He must get her some Rapunzel to make her better. He snuck into the garden that night and grabbed just a handful of Rapunzel. He took it back to his wife and she immediately started to feel better. But it wasn't enough. She needed more. So he went again and snuck back into the garden, and just as he was reaching for the Rapunzel, he heard a noise, a crack behind him. Aha! It was the evil witch. I knew someone had been sneaking into my garden. The husband, he tried to explain, please, my wife is having our first child and she's grown very sick. I just need a little bit of Rapunzel. The witch thought up a cunning plan. Fine, she said. You can have the Rapunzel, but I get your baby when it is born. The husband felt so sad at this, but he couldn't leave his wife to be ill, so reluctantly he agreed. They lived happy for a short time until their baby was born, and the witch appeared immediately and stole the baby from its cot, putting it in a tower and leaving it there. The baby was to be called Rapunzel, and Rapunzel grew the longest, most golden, beautiful hair. But she was locked in the tower and she was desperately lonely. There were no stairs for her to get outside. The only way the witch came up was to arrive at the bottom of the tower and shout up to the one and only window, Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair. And then she would climb up it. Rapunzel grew very lonely as she grew up. The only thing that brought her joy was singing. She sang all day and all night. And one day, someone else rode through the forest. This time, it was the prince. He had to stop as he heard the most beautiful noise, and it was Rapunzel singing. And even once he'd rode home and had his supper and had his tea, he couldn't help but think of this singing. So the next day, he went back to the forest to listen. And this time, he hid behind the tree when he saw the evil witch approaching, and he heard her beckon, Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair. And he saw the flow of golden hair fall to the ground and the witch climb up it. Thinking that he had to meet the woman that possessed this voice, he decided to do the next thing the same day. And he called out, Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair. And immediately all the hair fell and he climbed up it and reached the tower. Rapunzel was startled at first, even scared. But after a bit of talking, she realised that he was noble and he was kind. They talked for hours until the prince finally asked her to marry him, and she agreed, for she'd never felt love before. But, she admitted, I don't know how to get out of the tower. You must bring me some silk every evening, and I will weave a ladder from it, and then I can come down and we can escape together. Over the next evenings, the prince did just that, coming every night without fail with silk. But the witch was very clever, and she could see that there was a change in Rapunzel. Something was different. So, when she came down, she called out to Rapunzel in a different voice. Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair. Ah, cried Rapunzel. Prince, I've been waiting for you all day. Oh, I've been so looking forward to seeing you, Prince. We can nearly escape together and... The witch arrived at her window in a rage because Rapunzel had been deceiving her. So she grabbed some scissors and snip, 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 cut off all of Rapunzel's hair, then dragged her deep into the forest and left her there. The evil witch waited for the prince, and when he came and when he called for Rapunzel, he threw down the braids of hair that she had stolen from her, and he climbed up, only to see the evil, ugly witch at the top. She pushed him down, and he fell onto thorns of grass at the bottom. You will never see Rapunzel again. She had blinded him. Oh, the prince, he worried so much for Rapunzel that he walked. Even though he couldn't see, he walked for days and days trying to find her until, eventually, he heard a sound that he recognised. The most beautiful sound. It was Rapunzel singing. He ran towards the sound, and Rapunzel welcomed him with open arms, and they cried and laughed together. And Rapunzel kept crying, and her tears, they fell on his skin. And when they did, he realised that he could start to see again. He saw out of his left eye, and then his right eye, and then all at once he was not blind any longer. They agreed once again to be married, and he led her back to his kingdom, where she was reunited with her loving parents, and the evil witch was banished forever. Then they all lived happily ever after. The end. I hope you enjoyed our adventure this evening. Join us next time for more. Sleep nice.